Hey guys, once again, in this video I'm gonna explain about the scientist, everything about him. So, first of all, I have this photo. This go to sleep that was Rich, because Rich, he is the scientist, he is the one who says is this, because then gas mask species is the scientist, like I said from the past video from Wiki Fandom. So that means that the scientist, that the voice by him is Michael Kovac, and has a lich. So when it says go to sleep, that Lich said about go to sleep, that he was telling to someone, but we didn't know who. Or maybe it was he was telling to Thomas Clark that to go to sleep, because like in chapter 3 it says everything is something to do with an orphan and employee where was experimented on, because that Rich was telling to Thomas Clark to go to sleep, and then after turn him into brown by using the red smoke behind the gas mask. So that is the first sign that he said that to Thomas Clark after he turned into a toy. So he said this to him by using him into a toy, by using this kind of smoke behind the gas mask, because you see here that I bright them up so you can see clearly. And there's another toy, so that means there's more employee or more orphans, they were also experimented onto a toy. So we don't know who, except we know Brown is Thomas Clark, except for other toys, except for Brown and Mummy Longlegs X, because Mummy Longlegs is Money Pain, and Candy Cat something to do with Mikira, like that. Yeah. So here, next we had the reveal of his name. The scientist is Rich, like I said, because as this is the one that I said in my past video, that is a voice has Michael Kovac has Rich scientist. So, speaking of the Rich, he's a scientist, that there's something you need to see. So, if you see this note, because from Wiki Phantom it says that Rich, the scientist, and Eddie Littleman, they were related, because Eddie, he is some supervisor for Rich, because Eddie, he is some head of research, because it says here that one I put on Google is, as he is presumed to be a scientist, it is heavily likely he has relation with Eddie Littleman. So this is why, because they were talking about like a lab for something to do, like they were planning to find a lab, and then the lab was already built in December time, randomly time, we don't know what time it was done. So after they were planning to make that lab and make it into it done, and then after they use it just to test for or many pains has to turn into a mommy long legs. Even for her puppy, he has to test for, let's say, scored transformation tester. So they were talking about one lab that is doesn't have anything in chapter 1 and chapter 2 except one area where we here find the lab before, light before or light after the facing part from mommy long legs. So I don't think this is something to do with chapter 3, but I think it is something to do with it because it is based on how does the one of the tools in that kind of lab like to check if it's worked on other orphans or employee turn into an toy. We don't know what, but toys made from orphans life that they took it into and start to make an interviews with just like others VSS tape that has related to with an interview just like Poppy because she her name is Stella Criver. That is why there's an VSS tape interview. It is something to do with Stella. That is why that she was saying about something to do with some bigger bodies initiative, and she was saying that playing with toys is so a massacre, and also she was saying that about like the order they die and like just stay being a kid forever, stuff like that. So it's the first interview of her in chapter 1 and right before chapter 2 because in there we might find a lab that we saw on horoscopes video that we saw on Grandma Longlegs because she is a mother of Mommy Emily Longlegs. Hence, that means that Mommy Longlegs also was an orphan, has many pain, and so there's no one who experimented on orphans and employees except one. It is the scientist that I was right. His name is Rich. He is the one who makes like all the orphans and employee and also tortured them into a toy by using that red smoke. And after that that because we heard that Rich he doesn't care about himself, he care about an orphan. That's why it says on the side of Mickey fandom. So here is very interesting part. So as you see this kind of photo called the lab called on the B-stack in like this kind of lab, I think this is only one thing, only something to do with chapter 3 that is like this kind of lab. This where we might seen or orphans and employees turned into a toy, but the problem is that we saw a video of Bron in Mob Entertainment's YouTube post the one we saw a toy blown into a bed. So I don't know if this got this kind of bed. It is the same thing like this kind of lab. So no, maybe I think this is something to do with chapter 3. It is story, I think, but I think yeah, it is a story because it tells anything about an orphan into a toy, some stuff like that. So all I know is like because so if mob editing has something to do with an chapter 3 with the chapter 2's anniversary coming on May 1st has with an randomly more adding toys, and also it will show more hands in the gameplay. And by saying more toys, I mean they are adding more toys in the gameplay. So maybe because the more toys what you are talking about is the one that we saw in the thumbnail or in a video of an area doing where he announced an play care. So for this lab, I think it is something to do with an dark story that where it tells us that this kind of lab is where the orphan and employee will be toy from using this kind of lab by the scientist known as Lich, and because he has related with Eddie Lideman, that's why I when it says that when they are related, I think that Eddie Lideman he was making a note on this kind of note that we saw in a gameplay that about Warren Buck that he was showing to the scientist Rich because it is something to do with some things that we didn't know that they are hiding off, but we don't know what. And don't forget also to comment that below what they are planning and what they are hiding, that doesn't there's anything into us. So there are, but what we know their plan was they were talking about this kind of lab for an orphan and employee where daughter into a toy from using this kind of lab for the chapter 3 story, because on dark story it would be something that there's anything with orphan and employee will turn into a toy for. So I think this is going to be the first chapter 3 dark story revealing. I don't know what it will be. It is not up to me, it is up to the developer, or because I'm not part of it, so I'm just helping and solving stuff like that. So I think so comment below do you think if this kind of lab, what does Rich the scientist and Eddie Littman they were planning to do by using this kind of lab for orphan and employees. And before I end this, I have a new biggest revealing theories about the scientist Rich that you guys shouldn't know, because I didn't make another video for chapter 3 connections. So because for the chapter 3 connections it has two steps that tells anything about the prototype known as experiment 1006. So that means that when it has related or connection with both chapters previews for them, that there's anything the prototype I according to the scientist, because I think the scientist, he is the one who tells about the the prototype in VHS tape, that trying to warn us that the prototype has loose and right, so he escaped. So we don't know what happened to it. Maybe I think we will see him in the gameplay for the chapter 3, because I think we were because or I know in the chapter 3 gameplay, when I used the gameplay for the account name Buggy Huggy, that the part that the daddy longlegs, that he said that let's find, so it's time to find the prototype, and he said let's meet Jack. So so he was talking about Jack in a box. So after, when you guys go to my list, or when you maybe some because you already copy and paste that kind of link, I bet you guys you have to click it on the part 3, but the last line, I bet, because you need to hear the between for Jack in the Box, that it almost revealed the full revealed about the prototype's hidden spot. So I think that is why that the prototype, he escaped in the chapter 2 to the train and trying, and then like finds Poppy, and then like grab her. And after when she's saying like what, and then what the maybe because she saw him. That is why that I said the prototype, he is the one who grabs her in a wiki fandom. That is why how I guys show you. I don't know if I don't remember if I did the kind of video. Maybe I did. So yeah. So from this lab, it has connection with the prototype, because the prototype he don't want to make them bigger bodies in his effort to complete it, and he was using by sending toys to not let all the employees is to complete the bigger bodies is in the stuff, because in the if he escape by Harry Sawyer, that he said the bigger bodies in Joseph were fair, because it's something to do with an orphan and employees, because I think for Harry Sawyer, Eddie Redmayne and Rich Nonhasa scientists, I think all together they were talking about this kind of lab for them chapter 3. So like I said, I think this kind of lab is just going to be a part of an chapter 3's dark story. That there's anything with orphan and employees. So do you guys, so comment below, do you think that we're this kind of lab or so in the chapter 3 gameplay, and do you think that I was right about this kind of my theories is the one I just say just now and more? So there's no lab for an chapter 3 they were using to make an orphan employee by torture them into a toy. There's no lab for the chapter 1 and the chapter 2, except this kind of rap we saw in the chapter 2, because it has hidden levers in lack of gameplay. So that means this kind of rap will be so in a dark story of chapter 3. So how do you think, so comment below, do you think it will come in chapter 3 gameplay without revealing an orphan and employee? Because of course it's not gonna so because it was from long time back, like let's say 10 years ago, because that was it says in a note for chapter 1. So I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, comment below what do you think of this kind of series, and don't forget to also, do you think that I was right, and this is not something to do with everything about chapter 3, except two things for chapter 3. One, it will be a dark story. I don't know if the developer might use this kind of rap as a dark story. Really, so also comment below, do you think that he will use it as a dark story? Yeah, because it tells anything about orphan and people here. And two, comment below, do you think also it will come or show in a gameplay? So I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to comment and subscribe, and you want me if make this kind of content more video, I'm gonna see you guys on another video.